Welcome to Upticks. I'm Jake Falcon, the founder of Falcon Wealth Advisors and your host of Upticks. Today is episode 118, How Not to Run Out of Money. Okay, thank you for joining me back on the show. I hope that all of you out there are staying safe and healthy during this horrible pandemic. Before I dive into the show, I do want to give a quick shout out to my business partners, Corey Bittner, who will flash up his show, In the Money Insight. He does produce that weekly, and you can find that directly on our Falcon Wealth Advisors Collective YouTube channel. Also, he's got a podcast out there on Spotify and Apple iTunes. Also, I want to do a shout out to James Lewis, another one of our business partners who has his own podcast out there on Apple iTunes as well. And I believe his is on Spotify too. And his is called The Financial Philosopher. Please feel free if you want to get more great contact from our team at Falcon Wealth Advisors. Both of them are spending a lot of time cranking out good, solid, organic content. Corey's show is very similar to mine, where he's talking about retirement planning. And then James has taken a very, very deep dive into pensions. So if you have a pension or you know someone that has a pension, I would highly encourage you to check out his show. Okay, so for today's topic though, I wanted to talk about how not to run out of money. And for many people, it's been argued that this is their second worst fear. And strangely enough, public speaking is rated as the number one fear for individuals. Number two though, I don't know where I got that quote. I've been saying it for years, but supposedly number two is running out of money, which is very real. And I understand that, money can cause a lot of anxiety, and it doesn't matter if you have millions of dollars or hundreds of dollars, that concern is still very real. And I've seen it. I've seen it in clients that have millions of dollars that are concerned about it. And, they just want to know that they're going to be okay. And so for today's show, I wanted to talk about 4 main ideas that can help you not run out of money. Okay, so number one, and this may be very obvious, but maybe not to some people, is to simply spend less than you make. Okay, and what I mean by this is for our clients that are still working. If you spend, $8,000 a month, right, but you only make $7,000, well, you've got a problem. And typically this shows up, and not for all people, but typically this will start to show up in higher credit card balances, right? So a lot of people will get a credit card with the intention that they're going to charge, everything to get the points, and then they'll pay off their credit card every month. But what happens is sometimes you run a little short. So you start to run a little bit of a balance, and that credit card balance slowly creeps up and gets to a point where sometimes it's unmanageable. Well, this is a concern. It's a red flag that we see. And it's okay if you have a large credit card balance, but we want to work a plan to get that paid down, because typically those credit card balances come with high interest rates. And it's also a sign that you may be spending more than you're making, which again is a surefire way to eventually run out of money, right? You can only spend so much and make so much before you continue to have a deficit and it goes down to zero. You dip into your savings, run a credit card balance, dip into your 401k, spend it all down. And, again, that's why people hire us, is to hopefully avoid those types of situations. So for my second point I wanted to make is to have a budget. Now, again, I've talked about this on my show before, and me, even being a financial advisor, I don't run a monthly spreadsheet for Rachel and I. We know how much income we have coming in. We know how much we spend, and that's our budget. And if we have a huge expenditure coming up, we're getting ready to remodel our great room, and that's going to cost a lot of money. So now I'm starting to work it in the budget and make sure that we can afford what we want to do, right? But if you don't have a budget, and we'll flash up on the screen here, and I'll put a link at the end of the show to a video we have about a budgeting blocks platform that we've invested in to take you through this. So if you said, okay, Jake, that's great. I'm glad you can do yours in your head. I can't. I'm more of a visual learner, and I don't like spreadsheets. Well, that's what this budgeting blocks system does. So Matt or James on our team, they'll take you through this exercise, and basically They will stack up blocks for you or help you in each category where you spend money every month, and you'll be able to see it in a three-dimensional view. And this budgeting exercise will tell you if you're running at a surplus or a shortfall. And again, that gets us back to topic of how do you not run out of money? Well, you want to make sure that your budget is not running at a deficit or a shortfall. You want to have a surplus, right? So again, so number one, just a quick recap here. Number one, spend less than you make. And number two, know what your budget is. And if you need help with budgeting, please don't hesitate. Even if you're not a client, reach out to us at Falcon Wealth Advisors. We're happy to take you through that exercise. Okay, perfect. So my number three solution for this is how not to run out of money is to have a financial plan. This, in my opinion, is one of the most important ones because it can be fine and dandy saying, okay, Jake, I get it. I'm not spending more than I make. Yeah, we understand our budget. That's all fine and dandy. But can I retire at 50 years old, 55, 60, however old, and can my nest egg last me forever? How do I not deplete that? And that is what a financial plan solves for. So with all of our financial plans, we run them out typically until you're in your 90s or beyond. We can change that number. And we want to see what does that 30-year, 40-year, 50-year projection look like? And are you going to run out of money by the time you're in your 90s based on your current situation? So we'll plug in, how much are you spending every month? How much are you saving, right? What are your investments growing at, which I'll get to here in a moment. But we'll put all that in a financial plan, and that'll give us a nice trajectory to forecast, hey, are you running down the right road or do we need to make adjustments? Now, what's very important about this is that it is not a one-time exercise. And I think this is where Falcon Wealth Advisors brings extreme value to our clients, is that we like to meet with every client, typically twice a year, at a minimum once a year, to review that financial plan. And we want to make sure that that trajectory still looks good. Now, if it doesn't, it's not the end all be all, and we just say, sorry, you're out of luck, better luck next time. That's not what we do. If it is showing a shortfall, well, then we can start making adjustments and peeling back the layers. Well, why? Has the performance been bad? Which may or may not be the case. Have you overspent? May or may not be the case, right? We want to figure out what is causing the shortfall and most importantly, what adjustments can we make today or in the next 6 months or next year, or maybe you're going to refinance your house, or maybe you're getting ready to pay off a credit card and maybe your spending is going to come down. Maybe you're getting ready to turn on Social Security and that's going to help. But we want to see what can we do today or in the next 6 months or year to help prolong this financial plan so that you do not run out of money. And for some people, maybe they do want to run out of money, believe it or not. And that's maybe a topic for a whole nother show. Maybe they say, you know what, Jake, by the time I'm 80, if I'm just living on Social Security, I'll have no debt and that'll be fine. For most people though, that's not okay. And so again, for our financial plans, we want to make sure that you can live theoretically forever and never run out of money. Some people want to leave millions and millions of dollars to their kids or their heirs or a charity. Some people want to leave very little. We can also toggle that up or down based on what you want to see that financial plan end number look like. So there's all these different things that we can do from a financial planning perspective. And I'm proud to say that we have 2 planners on our team. I have a Maddie Crawford, who is a financial planning for qualified professional. She has a designation for that. And then we also have Matthew Tomlin, who is a certified financial planner. So both of them are running plans for our clients, looking at trajectories, analyzing plans, and helping the advisors, myself, Corey, James, and Matt, deliver that information to our clients and run adjustments or make adjustments as needed. I can't stress that financial plan enough. It's very important that you have one, that you review it regularly, and you keep it up to date. And if you need to make adjustments, we can talk about that. Okay, perfect. So for my last, strategy of how not to run out of money is to make sure that you have your investments or your nest egg properly aligned with your goals and invested accordingly. There's been a lot of studies out there that argue that millennials have their money invested far too conservatively. So I believe many of them run a very high risk of outliving their money because they're not getting that growth. And so they're either going to have to work forever or they're not going to have enough of their nest egg saved up, right? And then the other hand, some people invest too aggressively, and you don't want to invest too aggressively because if the market takes a dive, right? If the market goes down 20% and you're retired and you need to take a distribution, you don't want to have to sell an asset when it's down 20 or 30% because then you're just locking in losses. So for our clients, simply put, we like to put anything they need in the short term. And for us, short term is within the next 5 years, right? Some will say 10, some will say 1. 5 is typically a good sweet spot. Some of our clients, it's more, some it's less, but just generally speaking, we like to have at least 5 years or so worth of income in bonds and cash. Now, bonds aren't paying much interest right now. We know that, but we want them for their stability, right? The price typically doesn't fluctuate that much. So short-term money, we want in this bucket, for lack of a better term, in bonds and cash and safer investments. And then anything long-term, we want in more growth-oriented. We understand there's going to be more risk and the value is going to fluctuate up and down, but that's where we're going to get our growth. And that's where we are going to preserve what's called purchasing power. And the whole goal of that longer-term bucket, 5 years and beyond, is to have growth-type assets like stocks. And the idea is that we want to grow that nest egg so that it can last forever. And then as things happen, we just rebalance among the two, right? If things go up or down or income goes up or down or whatever, then we're always juggling between the two different buckets there. Okay, so again, so very simply put, as a quick recap here, spend less than you make. For some of you, that's common sense. For some of you, it's not. So again, I had to say it, right? It's very important. 2, know your budget. If you don't want to run a spreadsheet, I get it. I don't run one. But if you got to know where money is going and why it's going that way and make adjustments accordingly. Have a financial plan, review it. Even if, again, you don't want one written, as long as you have a good idea, like, all right, Jake's making me, 6, 7, 8%. We're spending 3, 4, 5%. I know that financial plan is going to work. Having some understanding of where your trajectory stands is very important. And then 4th, having your investments properly aligned, right? Because if you got all of it in bonds, right, and you're worried, now some people can have all of it in bonds and that's okay. But if you're worried about running out of money and you have it all in bonds, I want to be able to show you that in a projection saying, hey, if you only make 3 or 4 or 5% a year, this is what it's going to look like. And for some people that works and that's completely fine. But for a lot of people, it doesn't. So that's why they need that stock component to hopefully get some more growth over the next 30, 40 years. Okay, perfect. So that's all the time that I do have for you today. I hope that all of you out there, like I said, are staying safe and healthy. I did just finish reading a really good book called Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey. I think he's a pretty good actor. I've seen him on David Faraday, who was a golf analyst. He had a show and it was really good. I thought he had a really good outlook on life. So I picked up his book. It was a really quick and easy read. He's a famous actor, but he's very down to earth and he keeps things in perspective. And sure, I think he does the little things that are maybe weird, right? But I think all actors maybe have to be a little different to be artistic, which I admire in him, that he has that thinking. But I think it's a good book. I think if you want to pick up something different and read about, some big Hollywood movie star that has kept it down to earth and pretty simple, I think it's pretty cool. So we'll flash up a copy of that book on here as well. So be sure to check it out if you're looking for a read. Other than that, I do have another recommendation on a show that Rachel and I watched on Netflix called The Queen's Gambit. A really good show. We binge watched it. I think we watched it maybe in a week or two. I think there was only 7 episodes, but really, really fascinating. It's about a young lady who becomes very good at chess. And I'll leave it with that. But it's really, really good. I highly recommend it if you're looking for something to watch at home. Because again, with quarantining and everything going on, probably doesn't make sense to be out there doing too much other things. Okay, so again, that's all the time that I have for you today. Stay safe and healthy. And thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have a great week.